We've got Johnny Cirucci joining us from somewhere near Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Johnny, great to have you on the show. And if just what was it? You saw our interview, The Myth is Canada. Is that it? And then that brought you here? Was that?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I saw overheard. It was actually recommended to me, and because the conversation turned in, and I think it was actually Hildegard that turned the conversation towards the Jesuits. And I said, oh, that's my field. That's what I do.
Maybe it might not have been Hildegard, right? Probably wasn't you, Hildegard, but probably another attractive...
Could very well be. However, we discussed this Catholic Church deal years ago already.
Well, yeah, that's right.
Excellent. Well, good. We're still in the right ballpark. And so that prompted me to reach out and say, if you guys wanted to explore this further, I would be honored to my partner Doc Felipe likes to cite Tombstone, the '93 movie Tombstone with Val Kilmer's Doc Holliday. I'm your Huckleberry.
Wait a sec. So what's that movie got to do with this?
I'm as far as the Jesuits go. It's commenting on the 1993 cowboy movie, where Val Kilmer's Doc Holliday says before the gunfight, "I'm your Huckleberry." Well, as far as the Jesuits in the Vatican go, Hugh, I'm your Huckleberry. I'm your expert.
Okay. I wondered what that meant, that Huckleberry thing, but okay. Great. So, and I think and how this relates to the Myth is Canada thing is that really that it goes to, and a lot of people, I mean, if you look on YouTube now, a lot of people say, like, well, who's behind all this stuff, all the globalization, all the burdensome taxation, and all the taking away of people's rights and freedoms? It's some people say it's the Jesuits. So, go, Johnny. Well, I mean, bring us up to date on this.
Yeah, exactly. And what got you into this in the first place?
Good question. Yes, absolutely. It was when Doug Force had candidly, and I give him credit for that, candidly told you that the Vatican was the power behind England, as England was there in the background, the foundation of what would become Canada, as well as France, though, and France is very much a Catholic nation to this day. How did I get here? I am a former Marine, former soldier, and from a family of Italian Roman Catholic immigrants, where we're always right of center in our ideology and our leanings, very passionate pro-American, because my family came as a result of bad times in Italy. And so it instilled upon us a strong patriotism and a desire by me to go into the military and to serve America. And as of these experiences, I've was frustrated with mainstream media, which seemed to be left of center and skewed against America and its reporting. And I was dabbled in journalism in college. I had written some columns for the university paper, did some blogging after that, stayed in blogging. And so that gave me a background in journalism and information, at least on an independent scale. And was frustrated, so I kind of gravitated towards right-of-center media, and became frustrated with them over the years, particularly with the advent of the Barack Obama administration. It seemed like right-wing media was pulling their punches, or just kind of carrying water for a left-wing administration. And it wasn't until the supposed assassination of Osama bin Laden in 2011 by Barack Obama that I finally threw in the towel on even so-called conservative or right-wing media, because I had I had both inside information and open source information that showed me that the Osama bin Laden killing was an absolute farce. So if you accept that, of course, by that time I had questioned what really happened on 9/11. I had questioned what happened at Oklahoma City and Waco, and had been doing that as a blogger and as a independent journalist. And so that was kind of like the final straw for me, going into alternative media, as it were, to find my own answers. By this time, I was getting ready to leave the military. I haven't been in about 20 years or so, but was looking for my answers. I had inside sources that said that the official story about the Osama bin Laden killing was wrong, was fabricated, and I did my own research. And as I said, open source materials readily showed that, for instance, the very, very popular Situation Room photograph with Admiral Mike Mullins, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, I think Leon Panetta was there, Bob Gates was there, completely staged, admitted by mainstream media to be completely staged. Everybody, the picture with Hillary Clinton with her hand over her mouth, what do you have your hand over your mouth for? It's been admitted that there was no real-time footage of SEAL Team 6 supposedly killing Osama bin Laden on site and dumping in the ocean. The parameters of the mission were ridiculous. For anybody in the military, here you have the most valuable asset of the war on terror, the very reason for the war on terror, Hugh. And the parameters of the mission for SEAL Team 6 was shoot them on sight and dump them in the ocean. Come on. They admitted to waterboarding Khalid Sheikh Mohammed like, I don't know, some ridiculous amount, 80, 120, 180 times, I forget. A ludicrous amount of times of waterboarding Khalid Sheikh Mohammed just to get every scrap of information out of him. So it was there that I realized that, wow, from 9/11 to the Osama bin Laden killing to the war on terror, I really started to feel that there is a corruption that attains the highest level of journalism and government, to the point where we basically swim in a sea of lies.
Yeah.
It was shocking. And in my research, I came across a guy that was giving names, places, and dates that showed the power of the Vatican behind the vast majority of this. Looked it up for myself. I wrote a column on it, and to my surprise, the column did relatively well. Was handled pretty well, unusually for me as just a, certainly not a household name, independent blogger, journalist. And it inspired me to write my first book, Illuminati Unmasked, in 2015. And the purpose, I'll give you a vignette in that, Hugh and Hildebrand, and how it is that I came to be where I'm at, and giving names, places, and dates, and sorting this out, showing how the Vatican is behind it all, controlling both sides. Controlling, for instance, in America, when you vote for president, you only get two choices each and every presidential cycle. That makes it very easy for power players, whoever they may be, to control both of those candidates.
Do you think Trump is controlled?
I know for a fact Donald Trump is controlled. Donald Trump has been sued by a woman who said that when she was 13 years old, he raped her at a party of his friend Jeffrey Epstein, the pedophile provider, on one of Donald Trump's many trips to Jeffrey Epstein's private orgy island.
Oh, I heard about that island. So he was there too? I think the Clintons went down there, but I didn't know if Trump did.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Bill Clinton and Donald Trump together. Hillary Clinton has been accused from a different source. Although she's very controversial, Kathy O'Brien, the woman who says that she was a mind-controlled sex slave at the hands of the Central Intelligence Agency. She's one of the main sources I use as far as Hillary Clinton being guilty of pedophilia. But it is mainstream sources, Hugh and Hildebrand, that connect at least Bill Clinton and Donald Trump together with pedophile provider Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, I'm wondering if you're familiar with the work of David Icke. He has a new book coming out, and in it he claims that Kushner is President Trump's handler.
Yeah,
and
ludicrous.
Kushner family
Absolutely
had a
ludicrous.
long-time connection to Netanyahu in Israel.
Yes,
and
absolutely
a
ludicrous.
Zionist connection.
It's part of the game. They absolutely love Jared Kushner, Ivanka's husband, is so powerless that they had to fabricate his position. They had to create a position for him. If you really want someone to have power, you give him director of the Central Intelligence Agency. You give him Secretary of Defense. You give him Secretary of State. Instead, they sit him on the side and blow him up. The reason for this, the reason why David Icke throws this out there, is because it is a famous tactic of the machine to stir racial hatred and strife, to get people to disconnect their logical thought processes, and they love to stir people up over the Jews. It is their go-to card in their deck. It's absolutely ludicrous.
Well, but
If you really want someone to have power.
If I may just throw this in, David Icke makes it clear it has nothing to do with the Jewish people. This is a different faction altogether.
He can do that. He can do that because it's masking the reality. The reality is Jared Kushner is Jewish. If you buy that Jared Kushner is the secret power player, then you normally make you can go ahead as the public speaker. You can step back and say, look, this has nothing to do with the fact that he's Jewish, but there's already a massive amount of discontent, particularly across the blogosphere, that of people who are angry at Jews, people who claim that Jews really control things, and then you throw out the name that Jared Kushner is secretly controlling our hero, Donald Trump, and it's natural for the audience to go ahead and make that connection, even if you, as the speaker, try and distance yourself from that. And I consider it a cunning ploy.
Well, all the more reason to stress that this is not so. This is not a same deal. We are not talking about the Jewish people, period, when we talk
Well, this
about
is really
Kushner.
what you're getting at, Johnny, is that it's really the Jesuits that are...
Well, let me give you an example. Let me give you names, places, and dates, which is what I like to do as opposed to folks that just try to froth up emotion. If you really want someone to have power, you'll give them, as I gave the example, you give them Secretary of Defense, you give them Director of the Intelligence Agency, someone like Jesuit-trained Roman Catholic Leon Panetta. Leon Panetta was a California congressman who was relatively obscure until he became the director of the Office of Management and Budget during the Clinton administration. Let's see, a other chief of staff, I believe, also for the Clinton administration. Barack Obama resurrected him, brought him back. Barack Obama, who has been accused of being a Muslim or a communist, and yet he had more Jesuit-trained Roman Catholic in his administration, almost as many as Donald Trump. I have a massive list. I can open up an Excel spreadsheet of the number of Jesuit-trained Roman Catholics that Donald Trump has empowered. But using Leon Panetta as an example of what real power is, Secretary of Defense and also Director of the Central Intelligence Agency. The Central Intelligence Agency was founded by a Roman Catholic Knight of Malta. The OSS was founded by William Donovan, a Knight of Malta, Wall Street lawyer who was given the Order of St. Sylvester by Pius XII in 1944 before World War II was even over. The Federal Bureau of Investigation was founded by devout Roman Catholic Charles Joseph Bonaparte, and he was a great-grandnephew of Napoleon Bonaparte. The number of Catholic directors and assistant directors and deputy directors have gone under the radar, particularly at the FBI. We just saw James Comey. He's not in there now, but James Comey, a Roman Catholic, he was the guy that said that neither the emails of Hillary Clinton or John Podesta, who's been accused of pedophilia, were of any interest to the FBI. I just reposted an old video that I have from MSNBC of Rachel Maddow reporting on how an associate of the supposed Boston Marathon bombing, Tamerlan Tsarnaev, his friend Ibrahim Todashev was questioned by the FBI and subsequently murdered, assassinated, literally assassinated. The story is that he was shot 6 times in the torso and once in the back of the head. Are you kidding me? This is the Federal Bureau of Investigation. These are not supposed to be assassins. But when you have these connections of corruption that point back to a malignant outside entity that is controlling things behind the scenes, when the United States was founded, the colony that was meant to be a refuge for Roman Catholics was, of course, Maryland. It's no coincidence that the NSA is headquartered in Maryland and that Washington, D.C. is also in the vicinity on the grounds of a Roman Catholic named Francis Pope. How about that for synchronicity? Pope Francis just visited in 2015. The original property that the White House sits on was owned by a Roman Catholic sheriff named Francis Pope. And as a matter of fact, the architecture of Washington, D.C. is a perfect mirror of the Vatican. It's an absolute perfect mirror. It actually used to be called Little Rome on the Tiber. Then it was called Little Rome on the Potomac. Then it was called Washington, D.C. But a massive phallic obelisk across from a dome is the exact same architecture as there is in the Vatican, St. Peter's Square.
That's interesting, Johnny, because of course we've heard about the plan of Washington, D.C. It's got a square and a compass and a
yes. As a matter of fact, it was planned by a Roman Catholic Freemason
from France, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Leon Font, Pierre Charles Leon Font, a Roman Catholic Freemason, and I actually have the citations of his Hudson Lodge. I think it's Hudson Lodge number 42, something like that. Supposedly, Roman Catholics are vehement enemies of Freemasons, but in reality, it's just a cover.
So, Johnny, and it's interesting you mentioned about. I never really thought about that. This like a new Rome, but if you look at the architecture, of course, of the White House and of a lot of places in Washington, they invoke the Roman architecture from old Rome, which is really the point here. I think, Johnny, we got about 10 minutes to kind of encapsulate this, at least today. But that really what this is that it's the Roman Empire never really went away.
Yeah, that's the most important thing to come across, Hugh, is that they're doing it in secret. Did you know that Donald Trump spent 2 years with the Jesuits at Fordham and then left to get a secular public degree at the University of Pennsylvania? I have a source that says the Jesuits control the University of Pennsylvania incognito. His daughter Ivanka did the exact same thing, spent 2 years with the Jesuits at Georgetown, and then left to go to the University of Pennsylvania to get a secular degree. His son Eric, I think, got his bachelor's all 4 years at Georgetown. Now, being Jesuit educated does not guarantee that you're going to be used as an insurgent, as an agent, as a traitor. But what it does is the Jesuits are experts at screening individuals, at using individuals. Francis Xavier, one of the co-founders of the Jesuits, said, "Give me a child until he's 7, and I will give you the man." And they absolutely believe that. Adam Weishaupt, who was of a Jewish background, converted Roman Catholic, supposedly the founder of the Illuminati, was almost certainly an ordained Jesuit priest. He taught canon law at Jesuit Ingolstadt University in Bavaria. When the controlling both sides, as I wanted to give you the vignette, the cover of my first book, Illuminati en Masse, is a stylized
hold it
Egyptian
up if you want.
Go ahead.
Yeah, hold it up if you want to show us the cover. I don't know if you got it there. By the way, we have Adam Weishaupt the Ninth is one of our homies here at thatchannel.com.
Get out. That's awesome.
It's a long story. It's kind of a joke, but only half
Hey,
a joke.
John, question. Can I just throw this in, and maybe you can confirm or deny this?
Yes, ma'am.
I read in the German language information by somebody who was in the German military, and much like yourself, started to dig around about the history we were told. And he spoke, among other things, about the 1912 sinking of the Titanic, claiming that the captain of the ship, Smith, was also a Jesuit, and the sinking of the ship was crucial because on the ship were very well-to-do people from Europe who wanted to prevent what later on became the foundation of the Federal Reserve.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So the meeting, the book, what's it called? The Creature of Jekyll Island. Escapes me who
That's
the
it.
author is right now.
I forget, but yeah.
This is now
G. Edward
making
Griffin.
sense to me because this is how the politics have been manipulated and appearances have
And we
been
actually
distorted.
did a radio play here just before Christmas about the Titanic, and exactly everything you just said, Hildegard.
So, John, do you think this is so? John Smith, or William Smith, or whatever, the captain of the Titanic at the time, was he a Jesuit? Do you know anything about it?
Pulling up my notes right now. Give my very slow computer a second. The Jesuits acknowledged, let's see here, Jesuit seminarian Father, you see his first name, Jesuit Father Frank Brown was commanded by his superior to photograph every member of the Titanic in that fated journey, so that the Jesuits would have a categorized listing of everyone that was there and can verify who lost their lives. It is bragged about by the Jesuits that they had a seminarian who later became a Jesuit priest almost be on the Titanic, when in reality his job was to go and to catalog and categorize the victims to make sure that as the Titanic was sunk for this mission. I agree with that. By the way, let me also tell your German friend that my research shows that World War II was almost certainly contrived by the Vatican and Luther. East Germany was notorious as the home of the Protestant Reformation, and that's why it was hammered the worst, and that's why it was handed over to the Jesuits and the Soviets there to be punished long after. As a matter of fact, I just uncovered evidence that one of the worst war crimes committed in World War II was done against German soldiers by Dwight David Eisenhower. In the Rhine Meadow prisoner of war camps, millions of German soldiers were starved to death in a post-war war crime that no one has ever heard of. It was all part of the process to punish punish the home of Martin Luther in the same way that what happened to Japan, particularly the bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, were meant to punish the nation that evicted the Jesuits in the early 1600s. I think is the 25th Superior General, Pedro Urupe, was there on the ground in Japan in 1945, and the Jesuits and the Catholic Church also brags about this. The Jesuit enclave that miraculously survived Hiroshima because they prayed to our Mary of Fatima. I actually have a picture of Jesuits outside of their cathedral. The cathedral's left standing. The rest of Hiroshima is absolutely pancaked. And it's very plausible to me that the Jesuits managed the unbelievable war crimes of Hiroshima and Nagasaki using their puppets in the American military. I have a photograph of the premier Jesuit of his day, Edmund Walsh, after whom the Georgetown School of Foreign Service is named, walking practically arm in arm with General Douglas MacArthur in post-war Japan in the Reconstruction. He clearly had a hand in guiding Douglas MacArthur in the Reconstruction of Japan. These are the facts, names, places, and dates. The number of people, look up alumni of the Edmund Walsh School of Foreign Service who are in government today. I mean, international, you will be shocked at the names you come up with who have been trained, including Bill Clinton there, at the people. We talk about how many times you heard about Bill Clinton and Carol Quigley and how Bill Clinton read Tragedy and Hope by Carol Quigley. Carol Quigley was a professor at Georgetown. They met when they were at Georgetown. If I'm not mistaken, the famous picture of Bill Clinton when he was met JFK was organized by his family Jesuit, also the Kennedy family Jesuit, Father Richard McSorley. And I think it was there on the Georgetown campus, as a matter of fact.
So may I ask one question here? You brought up, Kennedy.
Yes.
JFK, or the whole Kennedy clan, I thought they were all Catholics. So what's your take on the Kennedy assassination then? Was he going to unravel the whole plot and say he's not going to play that game anymore of being a puppet on a string? What's behind it, in your opinion?
I have heard it said that they enjoy playing the Zapruder film for anyone that serves them openly. And they say, if we would be willing to do this to one of our own, think of what we'll do to you. Is to blow the brains out of a sitting president in broad daylight. And we're supposed to believe that Lee Harvey Oswald shot 3 rounds out of a 6.5 millimeter Mannlicher Carcano from 200 yards away, making the back of President Kennedy's head blow off from a clear exit wound from a round that came to the front of his forehead. And actually, there were 3 different kill teams there in Dallas. Clearly, and I actually use I consider Oliver Stone as one of them, but I also consider JFK as an outstanding indictment against the involvement of the CIA. He has impeccable sources. So if the CIA is able to murder a sitting president in broad daylight, how is it that Fidel Castro can last? I saw something ridiculous, like 360 attempts to assassinate the little tin dictator in Cuba. Absolutely ludicrous. The difference is that Fidel Castro was a Jesuit-trained Roman Catholic in good standing. Even his brother Raul, who controls things now, was a good altar boy, versus Jack Kennedy, who threatened to break up. Bob Woodward has him quoted as saying he would love to break the Central Intelligence Agency into 1,000 pieces and scatter it to the winds. Oh, you don't say that, whether you're one of them or not. Richard McSorley is the family Jesuit for the Kennedys. But you don't say that about the Central Intelligence Agency. The Central Intelligence Agency is key to all of the harm done around the world and to the American people. Bringing in drugs to trafficking in drugs, period. Trafficking in human beings, women and children. Starting needless wars, keeping them going. A few crimes are committed without the CIA there helping getting it done. They are one of the biggest crime agencies, crime organizations anywhere. How is it? Remember the Fast and Furious scandal? Are you kidding me? How is it the United States government is giving automatic weapons, 50 caliber sniper rifles, and explosives to the Sinaloa drug cartel, getting away with it? No one is fired. How is it that George Tenet wasn't fired after 9/11? Instead, George Bush gave him the Medal of Freedom, the highest civilian honor you could possibly. Are you kidding me? He should be in prison in an orange jumpsuit somewhere, and instead he was given the Medal of Freedom. George Tenet, trained by the Jesuits at Georgetown. Who was the guy in New York City at the time that 2 airliners made engineering history? 2 civilian airliners pancaked 3 skyscrapers into their own footprint. Rudolph Giuliani, cross-dressing Christian Brothers trained Roman Catholic. Back in the 80s and 90s, you may remember the so-called satanic panic, where kids were being abused and raped. Toddlers and infants were being raped under the care in preschools and grammar schools. 2 epicenters of this were military installations, the Presidio in California and West Point.
Okay, Johnny.
As kids, I'll sew this up for you and I'll shut up because I know you're
please go ahead.
Done. As there was investigation into the kids who were raped, the toddlers and infants raped at West Point, the federal prosecutor in charge said there wasn't a case there. There's nothing for them to do about it. That federal prosecutor was Rudolph Giuliani, the mayor of New York City during 9/11. I'll shut up now.
Okay. We're going to have to wrap this up. I just want to say that you mentioned a lot of stuff here. And I think that, of course, it's to me. You mentioned the Pizzagate stuff, right? John Podesta, Hillary Clinton, that kind of thing. And really, what's going on there is it's like a satanic thing, right? It's Satanism, really, that's at the root of that kind of stuff. Is that accurate?
Well, it actually it is very much a satanic angle, but it's much more. We can say Satanists, and that doesn't tell us who the real enemy is. I can say the Vatican and the Jesuits, and that tells us, that explains if people were angry and they wanted to take their anger and have something positive come of it, have some action taken. What are you going to do against Satanists? That's actually used. For instance, Bohemian Grove. Everybody's heard of Bohemian Grove. Nobody knows that the organization that runs Bohemian Grove and the Bohemian Club is the Roman Catholic Order of Saint Hubertus.
Whoa. Okay.
You actually come across a statue of a Roman Catholic saint, Saint John of Nepomuc, with his finger on his lips as you enter into Bohemian Grove. Okay, so it's the Catholic Church, and how many times? Oh my goodness, it's Eaters of Children. What like 600-700 pages of this. How many times I have listed in Eaters of Children how Catholic parents found out that a priest was raping their child. They didn't go to the police. They didn't go to the prosecutor. They went to their bishop. The bishop then took the pedophile priest and moved him to a new diocese where he could rape and rape again on unsuspecting families. Are you kidding me? So the takeaway from this is that the hierarchy's goal is to make sure pedophile priests, predator priests, have as many children offered to them as possible. Bernie Law, if you've seen the movie Spotlight from 2015, based on the Boston Globe Spotlight investigation of John Gagin, Bernie Law was notorious for taking multiple pedophile priests and bouncing them around from diocese to diocese. What happened to Bernie Law? Absolutely nothing. As people started to get angry, he was whisked back to Rome to have a very, very cushy retirement. He recently passed away last year, was given a papal funeral by Pope Francis himself, the highest honors you could have, to a monster cardinal who made absolutely sure as many pedophile priests were able to bounce around and to have as many victims as possible. The only takeaway I can have is that it is an agenda of the Catholic hierarchy to make sure that pedophile priests have as many victims as possible. You know, Jimmy Savile was a devout Roman Catholic, was knighted by the Vatican. In 2012, people said, wait a minute, are you kidding me? This guy was going to daily Latin Mass, and we're just now finding out about it? You need to take his knighthood away. The Vatican responded in 2012, I'm sorry, Jimmy Savile's knighthood's got to stay. There's nothing we can do about it. John Gagin's conviction. Do you know that the Boston legal system vacated Father John Gagin's conviction as a pedophile? He's now, even as he's dead in prison, he's not even a pedophile anymore. Okay. Utterly corrupt.
Johnny, we're just scratching the tip of the iceberg, if I can mix my metaphors here.
Yes, sir.
I just want to say, just for balance purposes, that there's a lot of good priests out there that are doing the best for their...
You bet. I do not want to make in any way, shape, or form make it seem like this is an indictment against all Catholics or all Catholic priests. There are good priests who are trying to fight this, but they are swimming upstream. The vast majority of the system and the hierarchy promotes the bad apples.
Okay, Johnny, just one more question, and we're going to give out your contact info, and then we can have you back at some point. But
sure.
Do you think there's progress being made against, I know I talk to people, they don't believe in Pizzagate and all that kind of stuff, and I kind of tend to believe it, but I can't say for sure that it does. But if this stuff is going on, are we collectively making progress to put a stop to it, do you think?
We are here on this program are making collective progress. There is no institutional progress because institutionally it is thoroughly corrupt. Institutionally, police, judges, politicians, anybody that we would rely on for justice is corrupted or owned in some way, shape, or form. Okay. This is the best way to get the information out, to get the common person angry and to force. The Harvey Weinstein stuff is a subterfuge caused by outstanding programs like this, raising awareness. So they throw out a Hollywood Jew like Harvey Weinstein and say, you know, this guy doesn't respect women. Yes, there are sexual shenanigans going on in the halls of power, but it's just these men that don't respect women. In reality, they're trying to disguise what's really going on, the ritual rape, torture, and murder of children. But they have to acknowledge that there's something seamless that's going on in the background. And we are causing good things to happen by getting this information out. Look, the fact is that the guy that's in office right now, the president of the United States, Donald Trump, has been sued by a woman who claimed that when she was 13 years old, she was raped by Donald Trump at a party of his friend Jeffrey Epstein. He is acknowledged in mainstream media as being friends with notorious pedophile provider Jeffrey Epstein, and our Secretary of Labor is the guy that let Epstein off the hook when he was on trial in Florida. 5 federal counts he was released from and went on house arrest for like 13 months instead.
Johnny. Okay, Johnny. Listen, we'll have to get you back on the show. Just give out your website where people can go buy your book and stuff like that. And thanks for being with us today.
It's my honor. JohnnyCirucci.com, JohnnyCirucci.com. The show is Resistance Rising on Blog Talk Radio. And everything you need, the books are Illuminati Unmasked, Secret History, and Eaters of Children, available on Amazon.com.
Beautiful. Thanks for doing this. We'll get you back.
Outstanding. Same here.
Okay. So we're going to just break quick here. We got Rose Royan coming up next.
Right.